Hey everyone, Oz Konar here with Business Lending Blueprint. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how to recession-proof your finances. Whether you have a job or you have a business, you've probably been hearing this conversation about an impending recession. Everyone is expecting the recession to hit US and the world. Honestly, this conversation has been happening even before the pandemic. Now we've been through the pandemic. It's coming back again with a bunch of changes that's happening. So let's first define what recession proof means, right? So it basically means what it says. It's just making sure that your finances are protected in case of a catastrophic recession, like a downfall in the economy, similar to what has happened back in 2007, 2008. It was the end of the road financially speaking for many people. It was the end of very lucrative professions such as the mortgage market, real estate market. Most of the common people didn't see it coming, although the savvier people, investors, did see it, but most people didn't really believe it would possibly be happening. There are a lot of people who are still traumatized by what had happened. Now, the talks of an impending recession is causing the same trauma on certain people, but a lot of people are not sure what it is, and most importantly, the reason that I want to create this video is to tell you how to prepare for this. You know, when you watch the news, you're hearing about an upcoming recession, but no one seems to be properly educating people on what to do. If that is a fact, I'm not saying it is, but let's say it is happening, we're kind of declining towards that impending recession. What do you need to do? And if you Google it for fun, like how do you recession proof yourself, you get advice such as cut down on your cost, pay off your credit card, reduce your expenses, just refinance your home maybe to reduce your payments. It's all about savings, but this advice is pretty good, right? So reduce your expenses if you've been addicted to drinking your grande chocolate chip frappuccino for $7. You stop doing that. But the question is, isn't this kind of silly? Is that how you prepare for a recession? Let's say you don't drink your fancy coffee 3 months in a row. How much did you really save? I understand the basic premise of what they're suggesting you do because many people live above their means, and during a recession, they're doomed pretty much, right? So the advice is given with good intentions, but a lot of times it's useless for someone who really wants to prepare for recession. So I wanted to talk about the raw facts of what happens during an actual recession. So let's say the US economy is sliding into a recession, and now you're hearing on the news that Fed is starting to raise the interest rates, and people think that this will impact the real estate market, which is like a main driver for the entire economy because real estate market in of itself feeds more than 40 different industries. So a recession in the real estate, that means recession in many of the parallel connected industries. Elon Musk says that, he pretty much sent an email to his executive team to stop and slow down hiring because he doesn't like what's coming, right? So that's translated into having a major recession coming our way. There are many indications, showing that there's something coming. Obviously, we don't know how soon, how fast, how deep, how bad it is. But let's assume that I'm not an economist, so I'm not in a position to discuss whether it's happening or not. But let's take the position of that it is happening. It's some foreseeable future. So let's talk about what do you need to do? Like, is saving the best way to go about it? And giving someone with a fixed income the advice of reducing your credit card debt is kind of silly, right? Because the question is how. If I'm making X amount of dollars and I'm in this little ecosystem of mine that I have credit card debt that I'm paying on a monthly basis, just because there is a recession coming up, now you're asking me to reduce that, so I need to make more payments, but my income hasn't changed. So how exactly do you suggest that I do that, right? Is it just enough for me to cut down on my fancy drink? I'm all about living the lifestyle that you can, as long as it's not above your means. So I'll give you the secret that I know that will help you through a recession. The best way to go through a recession is by increasing your income. increasing your income drastically. Okay, it's very difficult to reduce your cost because you're used to a certain standard of living. Even if you reduce your cost, that the difference for that to accumulate to protect you during a recession is kind of a wild assumption, because during a recession, most likely you're going to lose your job. So you're going to lose your source of income for those who are in the job market. Think about what happened back in 2008. Mortgage brokers who used to make 20, 30, 40K per month, all of a sudden they were out. And that was the end of the road for many of the industries. So your savings that you accumulated will get you going for another few months, but you're unemployed right now. Certain industries will have no business coming their way because their business is not recession proof. So the best way to survive a recession is by drastically increasing your income. So how do you drastically increase your income? Do you go up to your boss and ask for a 200% raise on your salary? No, that's probably a surefire way to get fired immediately, right? So one of the best ways to do that is start your own business. Well, starting your own business is by no means an easy way out. It's a very complicated process. You have to decide what business to start, and you have to determine an investment amount, because every business will require some level of investment. Sometimes it's heavier on the time investment, sometimes it's heavier on the finances part. Sometimes it's a combination of both, and sometimes it involves other family members and being in debt to the banks and institutions and all of that, right? But it is so far, based on what we know, is the fastest way to increase your income. You can literally go from zero to making $1 million in as little as a year to 2 years, right? That can only happen through business ownership. So you can't do that through your current job. Or if you've been in business for a while and your business currently has not been drastically growing, it's not going to immediately just go up in value 4 times. You're not going to 4x your revenue if you have a consistent revenue coming every single a month. So you need to be in a lucrative industry that actually not only survives and thrives during a recession. So, and if you are in the job market, let's say you do own a business and you're just kind of scratching your head and thinking, all right, Oz, this is a good advice, but I'm stuck here. I got a business that I'm running right now. I can't just dump it and go start another business. I'm 100% with you. You're probably under a lot of obligation, and you have your lease and you have your inventory, you have your employees, and there's a lot unknown, right? So people are afraid of the unknown. That's just how we are. We're just freak out when we don't know what's coming. If you're a business, the best time to secure some funds is before the recession hits, right? So currently, as of right now, at least, we're not technically in recession. So the things are pretty flexible, right? So if you're an existing business with revenue, the best time to secure more revenue is when you don't need it. When you do need it, things start to work against you in traditional banking system. That's why I'm in the alternative lending industry. You don't have that problem. But if you're an established business and you need funding from your bank or like a business line of credit, time to get it is now, because when the recession hits, they're going to restrict their funding criteria, and you're going to be in major trouble trying to get any funds out of them. I'll remind you what happened. Pre-pandemic, small business lending approval percentage through a traditional bank, not my industry, not alternative lending. So if you go to your Wells Fargo, TD Bank, or Bank of America, the approval rate on small business funding was about 25%, which is very low. That means 75% of the time your application will be declined, which is insane, obviously, because when you think about the banks, you would think that they're there to serve small businesses, which make up most of the US economy. That's really not the case. Now, that's during kind of normal times. And when we were going through the pandemic, the decline rates went up to almost 89%. So that means that only 10 to 11% of the businesses got approved for a business loan or a business line of credit. And out of those 11%, only 50% of those people got the amount they wanted. The other 50% got approved for less than what they could get. And the whole approval process was anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. Money loves speed. For a small business, you can't be just waiting for some kind of approval when you know that more than 90% of the time it's not going to come through. And even if you do get it, you're getting probably half of what you asked for in record time, like, 4 to 6 weeks and more sometimes, right? That's what happens during hard times. So if you're an existing business, you got to take that into consideration. So for most people, the lesson out there is start a recession-proof business. So that way you can increase your income drastically, that you don't have to kill the joy of having that grande chocolate chip frappuccino, which is my favorite, by the way. That's why I use that one. That's the only drink I know out of Starbucks, just so you know. So what do? Well, I can only talk about what I know. I'm in a recession-proof industry, and I'm not just saying this. Alternative lending industry not only survived 2008 recession, but it thrived. Why? When people need money, they figure out a way to get it. Because if their livelihood is on danger, then they're going to do something which increase the likelihood of people trusting or exploring alternative funding options, whether that's like 0% interest credit cards, building business credit, getting funding, fast funding through lending sources, getting real estate funding, real estate equity funding, and things like that. So within the realm of my universe, Business Lending Blueprint, we're running the largest training organization in the United States, and we have over 5,000 brokers that we've trained to be recession proof. And if you're interested in that, I have a training below this video. There's a link for you to check out the entire scheme of alternative lending and how it works. And if you want to, how you can be a part of that yourself or get help from us, because that's why it's called the Blueprint. We have a step-by-step process. We also provide live weekly calls with our members. We have one going on today. There are about 5 calls a week live we can have with the lenders, our lending partners, with ourselves, my team. We do have live events, and you get access to your one-on-one coach. So even if you know nothing about this business, regardless of your gender, your age, your experience, you get help, right? So we're the only system out there that trains people not through our training portal, but from the lenders directly. Also have the weekly live calls, also have the live events, anything that can help you succeed in a short amount of time in a recession-proof industry. So why is alternative lending recession-proof? Because it's alternative to traditional lending. If traditional lending was doing their job, there would be no need for alternative lending. But alternative lending has been growing exponentially, right? So when I first started in this industry, it only consists of 1 or 2 lending products. Now there are more than a dozen of them. And it is a few trillion-dollar industry, and it's growing every single day because more and more businesses are taking advantage of what alternative lending has to offer. When you think about it, there are more than 30 million businesses in the United States, and at any given time, 3% of those businesses need money like right now, every single given day, right? So that's a lot of businesses, and there are not enough alternative lending business loan brokers. So if you want to be a part of the community, I have this training below this video for a limited time. Check that out and comment below about your thoughts when it comes to recession. I want to know, maybe you know more than I do on the recession, what your expectation is. What do you think is going to happen? And if you do join the Blueprint, I'll see you on the other side. Take care now.